course. And today is going to be with Andrew. So Andrew will be taking our questions. I mean, the most important thing is to like make sure you come with your questions. If you haven't like maybe drop them on what is it called, on a regular link, right? So you come with your questions and be sure that Andrew will like attend to all your questions. So let's just jump straight to it, right? Just give me a minute. So if you have questions, right, you can type them in the chat box. If you don't want to type them in the chat box, which I actually prefer, right, because I want this to be a kind of conversational and very interesting and engaging session. So I prefer it when people talk, actually. So, but if you cannot talk, right, or if you don't want to talk, or if you're not somewhere you can really talk, you can just type. So you can type your questions, you can have your hands being raised, then I can just call you, or Andrew can call you as well. Then the questions will be attended to. So let me start with the question I have here, Andrew. So there is this question from Adura, right? Adura said, why is it difficult to get an internship, paid or unpaid, right, in the tech space? Are companies not interested in developing people? Now, I don't know if this question, Andrew, did you hear that question?
Yes, I did. I did not.
Okay. So the person said, why is it difficult to get an internship, either paid or unpaid, in tech space? Are companies not interested in developing people? So I don't know what is it called? I don't know how this person wants, or how this person actually streamlined this question. I'm sure the person had like a mindset. Maybe the person was trying to like address the Nigeria tech space or African tech space, or maybe global. I don't know. But I would just it would be great if you can just address it in different perspective, maybe Africa, then global, just anyone.
Sure. I think starting with Nigeria, I think generally we're seeing a bit of, I think it's a mixed bag. I think you ask some people, they will say, yeah, it's very difficult to find a tech company willing to hire interns. If you ask other people, they will say, oh, it's very easy. They'll find interns, they'll hire interns, but it's unpaid, or it's very tough conditions, and it almost turns into sort of like an exploitation mill where they hire the interns for a while, and it's supposed to be a path to a more permanent job, but that permanent job never comes, and then eventually the intern gets frustrated, and then they go and they hire someone else, and it keeps going. So we hear that. Then we also hear like even finding those jobs is difficult, and I think that's just in part because we have a lot of people coming into product, and a lot of people coming to product trying to transition into product, so entry level. So lots of entry level jobs, and then bear in mind the ecosystem isn't very mature. So the average company maybe can only, if they're even thinking about hiring a PM or having a PM, they have one PM or two PMs. And if they're going to spend that money, they want somebody a bit more senior. So there are lots of factors, at least in the Nigerian space. I think it's better in some other African countries, rather. It depends from country to country. But then globally, there is a high demand for PMs, but again, entry level is always tough here, because with entry level, you're having to show that you can be a PM, and as we all know, it's not been very structured before now. Now, of course, you have some, certifications, etc. For most people, if you talk to most people who've been in the game for 5 years plus, and you ask them, how did you become a PM? How do you get your first PM job? A vast, maybe not a majority, but a plurality will tell you that I was working in company A at something else and transitioned to product in company A. So you don't get a lot of entry level in from the gate. So yeah, these are the factors, I think. But I'm sure maybe other people have some opinions as well.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Thank you very much. Of course, I'm sure people might have like other opinions and all of that. So
yeah, I think if I could just say, maybe we can put them in the chat. So as we talk, even when we move on to other topics, we can still see them in the chat and shout them out.
Yeah. Okay, that works. All right. So let me just go to the next question. So there's this question from Issy. She said, or he said, I don't know. How do you know the difference between a junior PM, mid-level, and senior? Now, this question is actually lumped into each other. So let me try to read everything. Then you can now take them in bits, right? So let me take it again. The person said, how do you know the difference between a junior PM, mid-level PM, and senior PM? Is it by years of experience or their work outputs? Maybe we should take that first. Then I will ask the second question. It's like a follow-up question from that same person. Yeah, hand over to you.
I think, sure. Oh, let me just get the follow-up so I may be able to take the two at the same time.
Okay. I'll copy the question and just send it to you. So, but the second question is, how do you rate your level as a PM? Do you just go by whatever your company gives you, something like that? So let me drop the question in the chat box.
Sure. Okay. So I think so I like the way the question is asked, and is it about years in the game, or is it by the type of work that they can do with their work output? And I would hope, fingers crossed, that those two things tend to go together. That the number of years you've been doing the job translates to an improvement in work output. That's the ideal, but that's not always the case. Now, you will see some companies who, because they don't really know how to judge it, will go simply by how many years have you been working as a product manager. But I think it's fair to judge it by what type of work, the type of work output. So, for example, if you're a junior PM, can't do product strategy, or it will be very, or let me rephrase it a different way. If you're able to do product strategy competently, I'm no longer comfortable calling you a junior PM. I think a junior PM is able to handle all of the stuff, or most of the stuff, that's on the project management side of product management. Because product management has multiple layers. You have the project management layer, which is writing your Jira tickets and keeping track of those tickets, running to an extent, running a sprint planning, Scrum stuff. That's all that's what you would call the fundamentals, or you could call it the trade craft of product management, and that's what you see at the junior level. But I could be a junior PM doing that, and then if you're asking me, okay, then what about decisions on the product itself, the current product, or on the feature, or what about decisions on the roadmap, decisions on the strategy, and I start to struggle. So I think a good rule of thumb is to say a senior PM can handle product strategy. I can handle product strategy in a product line, and basically can be the highest decision maker in product decision maker in an organization. A junior PM needs product direction. I think a mid-level PM is somewhere in the middle, and it just varies based on who you're asking. Really, there's no rule of thumb. Then
okay.
The question of how do you rate yourself? How do you level yourself as a PM? Well, that's what it comes down to. I think you need to ask yourself, what are the things that a senior PM can do? Like if a PM, you drop that PM alone as the only product person in an organization that is a mid-level to large organization, and a mid-size to large, I meant to say, what can that PM be expected to do? Can I do all those things? Then you can't do all those things. Okay, which of those things can I not do? Okay, the product strategy, getting the roadmap, maybe those things. If those are the things you can't do, then you're obviously not a senior PM. Maybe you're a mid-level PM. So are you a mid-level PM? Well, let's ask questions. Do you know how to go out there and validate? Like if I have set a strategy as the senior PM, so, do you know how to go out there and validate that? Do you know how to take responsibility for a product line under the entire product strategy? These are the kind of questions you would ask for about yourself as a junior PM, as well as a mid-level PM. And if the answer is no, but hey, you're very competent, if the strategy is set, if the experiments and all the things for validation have been set, you know how to execute, then you're junior.
Okay, Andrew, I want to ask a follow-up question just so that people can get more clarification. I might be seeing the mind of someone. So, how does this look when it comes to when you're looking at it from the perspective of a technical product manager? Is it
sorry, did we lose him or is that me?
No, we lost him.
Sorry, can you hear me now?
Yeah, I hear you now.
Okay, so I was asking, I said follow-up question, right? So people can get more clarification. I said, how does this look, right? When you're looking at it from the so when you're looking at it from the perspective of technical, is it the same thing, or are there like other things to consider, right? You mentioned something the other time. You said if you can do stuff like strategy planning and all of that and execution and all of that, right? I mean, you will not be comfortable calling the person a junior PM anymore. So my question is, what if the person is a
please just go ahead. Nigeria has happened to me, but I'm listening.
Yeah.
Keep going.
Okay. Yeah. So my question is, what if the person is like, is it the same? Like, is it the same thing, or like are there other stores like that are different that the person need to like pay attention to?
Good question. I think for a TPM, for a technical, okay, so the product manager is a product manager, right? And when we talk usually about junior, mid-level, and senior PMs, we are not really thinking specifically about specialization, right? So it's just like I've explained it in terms of what they can do, how they can execute, in terms of how high up the strategy stack can they rise. That's the definition. But now, when you look at the technical PM stuff, and by the way, it's TPMs are just one flavor of specialization in product. You have lots of specialization these days. You have growth PMs, you have design PMs more and more. You have a lot of in fact, there's a lot of talk about PM around in business strategy, etc. So you can look at it more like those specializations are on the horizontal axis, while on the horizontal axis, while seniority is on the vertical axis. And so I wouldn't say that changes whether a PM is junior, senior, or mid-level. Maybe you could say they are now I think probably what I would never be comfortable calling a junior PM a technical product manager. I think it's too early in their career to say that. But if a junior PM, maybe it's like say a dev who crosses over to product management, and a dev crosses over to product management, they're still a junior PM, right? So maybe you say that they're a junior technical product manager, I guess. But I think you need to wait a bit till they've mastered the fundamentals and are starting to raise their head a bit above. Then you can now start saying, okay, this is really a technical product manager. Before that, maybe they're a junior product manager with some engineering skills, if that makes sense.
Okay, yeah, that makes sense, actually. Thank you. So I already answered the second question, right? I mean, the one that has to do with how do you rate your level as a PM? Okay, so let me just go to the last question on the sheet, then I'll come back to Bridget's question. So there is this question from Queen. She said, peer reviews. Hold on, please. Peer reviews or senior to junior mentorships. Okay, which one is better? So that's reviews or senior to junior mentorship.
Oh, okay. I get the question. But I guess my follow-up question is better for what? I don't think I can give a blanket. So maybe if she can clarify.
Hazel, please, are you on the call? Let me see. I think there is an Easy on the call. I don't know if that is Easy that have the question. Is it not? Or Kitchen Easy? Okay, since we don't have like any one of them coming up to identify as you don't have the question, so can we just take it from the two perspectives, if that would be fine?
Well, I don't know. I think there's more than two perspectives, but I guess what I'll say, maybe I'll just look at it like, okay, in what ways is peer better, and in what ways is mentorship better? I think what is the great thing about mentorship is that, you know, it's always good. They say who follow who's at the road now, right? So it's great to have somebody who's been there, done that, and who can lead you and explain things to you that you don't know yet and you can't see. So that's, you know, fairly obvious. That's a no-brainer. I think you always win if you practice on hard mode. That's always been my attitude. I've always tried my best to punch above my weight and try to learn about the problems that people in front of me and ahead of me and above me are facing. That's a great way to level up. So there's that. But the truth about mentorship is mentorship has its constraints. The major constraint in mentorship is availability of the mentor. That's the truth. Mentor has limited time, and the mentor is also like, yeah, availability is always the issue. That's where peer relationships have an advantage over mentorship. There's the whole, so I said, follow who sabi road for the mentor. For the peer, is iron sharpeneth iron, you know, so you have advantages with each. And it's often like you're all available for each other as peers, so you can talk to each other. You can, you're facing similar problems, which also provide some insights. So I think I can't choose one above the other. In fact, I'll go so far to say that they serve very different purposes, and you should try your best to get both. But understand that it's always difficult to get a mentor because availability is difficult. That's why, like, Roger and I love this group mentorship session, because it's a great way to mentor, even if it's not a one-on-one. So find as many of these type of opportunities as you can to just get some time with somebody a bit senior.
Yeah. All right. Thank you very much for that, Andrew. So there is this question from PJ. Let me just read the question. It's on the chat box though, but let me read it. So,
Sure.
What's the right approach to answering a case study, right? Or what's the right approach to answer a case study question in a live interview? So there's an instance here. For instance, how would you build a ride-hailing app for the blind? If this was asked, what is the right approach to tackling this in a live interview?
Okay, great question. And first of all, and this is the hack for product manager interviews. The number one strategy, the number one thing to do is ask questions back. You know, because first of all, the job of a product manager is to ask, like, asking questions is a big part of the product manager's job. You're asking questions of stakeholders all the time. And if you're interviewing with a company that has sense, what they're always looking for is, in that, when they're asking you that case study, they're not looking for a right answer or wrong answer. Maybe there isn't one. What they're looking for is, how does she think? How does she work? Does she think and work like a PM? And how does a PM work? A PM works by asking questions. So you should be peppering them with questions first of all. Oh, you say a ride-hailing app for the blind? Okay, great. So you're like, so there's some basic questions that you should always ask. What are the companies like? What are the company's goals? Is the company's goal to dominate market share? Is the company's goal to maximize revenue? Is the company's goal to to like get as many subscribers as possible. What's that? And then what's the time frame for the strategy? Are we looking at a 1 year, 2 year, 5 year strategy? That as that question, that allows you to situate what type of answer they're looking for. Then you now ask, like say, I always do that. There's a trick, like in a situation like this, there's one trick question I always do, which bamboozles them a bit, which is always, you say, oh, I should do the ride-hailing app for the blind. I say, well, I have to first validate, should I be building a ride-hailing app for the blind? So I'm going to first go and find and validate what are the pain points that blind people have. How big of a problem is this? How big of a market is this? How does this differ from what the blind are already doing? Then I start asking questions about products that are, so there's something I call like the 4 squares of a product, right? So you have, like you said, ride-hailing app for the blind, right? So let me use my, okay. Yeah, so perfect. So, so I have in the top left of your screen, you can see the picture of my family. Bottom left, you see my phone. Bottom right, you see my charger. And top right, you see my doorway, right? So those are the 4 squares. So imagine that the idea we're trying to get to my beautiful family here, which is ride-hailing app for the blind, right? Now, that means that let's say this side of the screen is ride-hailing apps. So, sorry, the vertical is ride-hailing apps and or what we're building, and then the horizontal is who we're building it for. So right now we have to ask ourselves a question. The blind and ride-hailing apps, like, so what do ride-hailing apps have, and who do ride-hailing apps currently serve? And then at the bottom here, what sort of apps do the blind already use? And what you try to do there is you're asking, so you have to call on your product knowledge there and say, okay, are there already apps for the blind? And those apps for the blind, what do they have in common? And how are they solving problems for the blind specifically? Then you're thinking about, okay, we may need to apply this here for ride-hailing. Then what are the problems ride-hailing solves? Are there any conflicts there? So what you're doing there now, you're doing some product thinking about what that product would look like and feel like and be built like. But so you start by saying, I want to know what the target is. I want to know if this is a valid thing to be building based on that target. And then I want to now start thinking about what that building will look like. Then you're not telling them, okay, once we have those ideas out there, this would be my plan for going out to test the ideas, validate the ideas with the blind or with ride-hailing. And then after that, this is how we'll define what success and failure looks like. And then this is how we'll deploy. So that's the rule of thumb you use in that kind of situation.
Okay, yeah. Thank you, Andrew. Bridget, I know you're on the call, so do you have a follow-up question, or are you okay with the answer?
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. So in situations like this, do you speak more to like the features? Do you come up with like features? Do you like prioritize, make sure like prioritization of the feature, how you go about prioritizing? Do you speak about all of that?
What you try to do, like I said, you start with, once you've understood, you pepper them with questions to understand what the goals are. Then you start to talk about what the problems are for the blind and for ride-hailing for the blind. Then you now start to think about, okay, what the you use, like I just used, like my framework was the four squares there, to start thinking about what could be built. And then you now start thinking about, like, how do you build, so for example, prioritization. In what order would you build these things and why? And you go that based on what are your criteria, and you're thinking your hypothesis there is, if I build this, it will I have these 5 features that I've come up with based on this matrix. Of these 5 features, I think the first one would serve the targets, the goals, the metrics fastest. I think this one and this one. Or you can talk about, okay, this is my prioritization framework for how I will judge these 5. I can't give you that answer right now because I need that data, but here is the prioritization framework. And then once I have that, this is my roadmap. And then for the roadmap, at each step, here's how I'm validating that each feature is a success or a failure going forward. So you just have to break it down that way, in that order.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Okay, yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Bridget. Just to do a little bit of reset, right? Good evening, everyone. Welcome again. Like if you're just joining to the main section with Triple Impact, and we've just been taking questions. I mean, people have been asking questions, and I mean, Andrew is here to give answers. And just to let you know, right, Andrew is actually a product lead at Founders Factory Africa. And just by saying that, what I mean is Andrew's first appearance, right, in this space was actually in 2003, as far as 2003. So, I mean, you can imagine what vast knowledge he probably would have, right, in the space. And just because of that, I would really want to like just indulge you, right? Please listen to Andrew when he speaks, right? Try to learn as much as possible as you can, right? So let's just get back to it. There is a question here from Alapi. So yeah, and please, if you have a question and you want to speak, please just stay on the queue. I'm going to call you. So take this Alabi very quickly. So Alabi said, I started out as a product manager intern, which I did for like 3 months. And subsequently, I got another PMM intern job. Can I add this in my resume? I think this is a direct question. Hope my PM journey isn't distorted. Yeah, Andrew.
Yeah, I mean, that's a great question. I think at the end of the day, anytime you're not working as a PM, the truth of the matter is it makes it harder to, if you don't have the title. Once you said, okay, you started working as a PM, and you shift to a job that doesn't have that title, PM or PM intern or product intern or APM or SPM, whatever it is, once you moved away, it makes it a bit harder because not a lot of employers have the patience to look. However, being a PMM isn't really too far removed. I mean, what you have to do, and actually, like I said earlier on, apart from technical product managers, these days we're looking at more and more for PMs who have like a business background or a marketing background or a design background, or who can specialize in those niche areas. So what you need to do is in your resume, in your CV, show that even in that job that wasn't like, even in that PMM job, you were doing things that overlap with being a product manager, or that required skills and deliverables that are definitely in the wheelhouse of being a product manager. If you can do that, a discerning hiring manager will call for you.
Hello, I see. Hello, Andrew. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. I can hear you now.
Okay. Yeah, thank you very much. So I want to take this question. Like, I'll just combine the two questions together. I think they're similar, right? Then I would start attending to the people on the queue. So this question from Michael, I'd love to ask what the necessary skills are to become a technical product manager, and how best to approach becoming one if you don't have a prior engineering background. And there is a similar question from Daramola that says, who is a technical product manager? What skill makes a technical product manager? So I would just love you to like just combine the two together.
Yeah, I think the shorthand answer is a technical product manager is one that has either engineering, who is like actual engineering skills, or the dev skills, or a deep enough knowledge and understanding of the dev skills that they're able to create requirements or design products at a level that contains technical language that does that and translates the product goals and product product criteria into technical language and technical phrasing in a way that would have normally required the dev to do for themselves. I think that's the most useful definition of a technical product manager I've come across. It's not the one everybody uses, but to me, it's the most useful. because it's not like you go to school and study to be a technical product manager. What one company calls a TPM will be different from what another company calls a TPM, but this is the general ballpark of what it is. And in terms of how do you become that, well, there are 2 ways to be a technical product manager, or 3 ways. The first way, the easiest in the sense of the most straightforward way, is to have been a developer before and then become a product manager. And that solves all the issues, right? But of course, that's not everybody's ballgame. Another way to do it is you're already a PM and you want to now be a TPM. A good way to do it is, well, learn a programming language or 2. Learn, and then apart from learning, because I'm going to start by saying, learn how developers build products. So understand the process of, writing code and deploying the code and getting it. Understand that process and understand it not just at breadth, but at depth in multiple places. And then that allows you to start having technical conversations with the PMs, with the devs. However, while I would say that, I will say that that's not usually enough. It's always good to learn a programming language. And I say that because who no go, no go, no. Yeah, I'm speaking to you in Proverbs today. And it's oftentimes, even if you as a PM, you understand how the sausage is made, at a superficial level, there is something that comes with actually knowing how to write code, put it together, and let it run, that gives you deeper insight and understanding into how to scope product as a technical product manager. So I think, yeah, that's the way.
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you very much, Andrew. So these we have like some just some hands in the queue. So I'll start with Oluchi. Oluchi, please, can you unmute and just ask your question?
Okay, good evening. Thank you so much for this. So my question is, okay, I have a product I'm working on, and then the we we are carrying out a survey, but then the target market is large, is very large, but the survey questions we sent out, we've just received not nothing less than 50, nothing more than 50, and then the stakeholders insist that we should carry on with building the product. In this case, what do you suggest we do? That's
Okay.
the
When you cut out there for a bit, but how many surveys did you send out? You just going back 50. How many did you send out? Please ignore my chat. Did we lose Oluchi?
No, I can't hear you. Did I say something?
Yes. So I didn't catch everything you said, but I was asking how many. You said you've received 50 surveys back. How many did you send out?
Okay, it's actually the first phase of the interview is just we sent out a form for them to fill. Like it's more of a quantitative survey.
Sure.
Yeah, so we sent out, but we've received, okay, I think as of yesterday, and then the stakeholders insist that we should continue building the product with the number of surveys so we can continue doing our product and not wait for more responses. So, and I and the team, we felt that
Okay.
it's small, so I don't know.
Okay. So my first question to you is how the results you're getting so far, how uniform or how homogeneous or how heterogeneous are they? Are people tending to give you the same answers, or are the answers all over the map?
Okay, we have similar answers.
You have similar answers. Okay. Now, so again, you kept cutting in and out. So I just wanted to just be clear. how many surveys did you send out? So this 50 that you received back, what percentage of the total is that? Because that's a critical question too.
Oluchi, are you there?
Yes, I'm here, but his network is breaking, so I can't really get everything he's saying.
Yeah. So I was asking what percentage of the total surveys people you requested for to or send the surveys to have responded? This 50, what percentage of the total is it, or the expected?
Okay, actually, we are looking at getting more than, if I got your question correctly, actually, we are looking at getting more than 50 responses. And then currently, as of yesterday, I checked, it's 27.
Oh, I see. You've gotten 20. You're expecting 27 and 50, but you've gotten 27 so far. Well, okay. That's not great, I guess, but it's still like sizable, especially if they are all skewing in one direction, and the signal you're getting from that skew is very strong. If it is strong, and if your team is agile enough, you can afford to start building. But the question now becomes, what expectations do your bosses have? If the boss's expectation is you're building something now, you're moving fast and breaking things. You're building something now based on these initial responses, but we know that that's subject to more validation in the market. You might go into the market and get hit in the face. When you get hit in the face, you'll have to come back and we do some things based on that feedback and go. If your bosses get that, then go ahead. But if your bosses don't get that, and if they feel, okay, we have enough now, we know the answer, let's go, alarm bells, because there's a possibility that, like I said, if you only got 27, not even the 50 you wanted, it may turn out that after you build and you go out, you start to get feedback that is that, oh, what you built isn't right. And then how will your bosses react then? So it's very important that the most senior product person in your team makes it very clear to the decision makers that, look, we don't know for sure. This is a good signal we're getting from the market, but it's not a perfect signal. It's only a signal to go ahead to the next step. But we're still going to get more signal after we launch that could tell us to keep going or could tell us to go back to the drawing board. And we're going to need you to be ready to move with that. And it's really a question of either they will accept that or they won't. But that's beyond you to determine.
Okay, thank you so much. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you, Andrew. Thank you, Oluchi, for that question. So let me take this question from the chat, then I'll come back to the queue. So there's this question from Easy. How do you write a good acceptance criteria in a user story?
Okay. I mean, I like this question. Fundamentals. So I just go with given that X, when Y, then Z. That's what I go with. It's tried and true, and it tends not to be wrong. So basically, given that, so you have three things: the start state, the start condition before some action is taken, and you have to define those start conditions, and then so that's the given that X, start position X. When Y, and Y is when something is done, like when a particular action or set of actions are taken on that start state X, then Z is now the new state that the product or the feature should be at. So given that, when, then. So I'm just typing it in the chat. I live and die by that. I think Bisola, who I have worked with before, will testify to that.
Okay, Andrew, I believe that's like the answer, the straightforward answer that you probably wanted to give. So let me go to Mustafa. While you're typing that, okay, I think that's okay, fine. So Mustafa, please, can you unmute and ask your question?
Yes,
Yeah,
Mustafa can also acknowledge that. Yes.
yeah. Hi, Andrew. This is Mustafa from Babanguna.
Hi, Mustafa. Good to hear your voice.
Yeah, thanks so much. So my question is basically on so I'm currently working a product, right, on B2B product. So, but unfortunately, right, I don't have access to CEO, and the head of product have access to CEO. So the initial idea was to create a product, like a kind of a sister product to our existing current product as e-commerce. But on the long run, right? So I started onboarding. Let me just cut the story short. Because we started onboarding customer recently. Then we started onboarding customer, and he now they still now make another that no, we shouldn't start onboarding, that he will do the onboarding himself. I was like, okay,
Who will do the onboarding? So the CEO?
see you right. You because the thing is that the product requires a lot of stakeholders, requires the supply chain team, requires the operation team, requires the legal team, and then so this is supposed to be my job to do. But because the nature of the company, right? You have high cadre of people, right, that are with director titles and senior director titles, right? That it's very difficult for you now to now come in to address these people and bring them together. It's very difficult, right? So the CEO decided that, oh, okay, he's going to do all of that himself to bring all of these people together so that he can make the product roll out very easy. So we reach out to customers and want to start onboarding, but the CEO said that's not his target audience, and we already built product already. We have built our product out. He now came and said, no, this particular product we're building is not for this audience. I was like, okay, that we need to halt it, that he's going to decide on which audience we'll be focusing on after we have done all of the requirement, market research, and all of that. So I don't know whether there is a problem within me not displaying the product well or managing the product well, or is the head of the product that does not communicate all of the report I'm sending to him because I don't have access to the CEO. He have access to the CEO. If the information to the CEO is skewed already, automatically that does not make my product look well in front of the CEO, or the problem I'm trying to solve will not be explained well to the CEO because I am the one solving the problem, not the head of product. Yeah.
So, a couple of questions. First, do you have access? I know you don't have access to the CEO directly, but do you have access to the comms between the head of product and the CEO? Do you know what the head of product was saying to the CEO about your product going into
No,
that every
I
step?
don't think I have access to that.
Okay. Was there any point from ideation all the way out where you had to present anything to the CEO?
No. So there was too much pivot, right, during the development of the product, right? Our target audience was just a certain group of sector, right? On 1 month of development, we got new information that we need to move to more sectors, right? Which also created more noise to the product. But me being the product manager and speaking to the head of the product manager and say startup, right? You can't really bring your own ideas in. You just need to flow in and see what you can do in at that moment. And whether if you're successful at the moment, and if you're successful, fine. If you're not successful, right, the short get back to you that you're not a good product manager, right? Something like that.
Yeah. So that's a tough one because it's really like, I think you need to have a sit down with your head of product to understand what went wrong. To understand, like, what you need to unpack for your with your head of product is, okay, by the time you got this was assigned to you, what was defined as the target market and how did the CEO understand who did the CEO understand the target market to be, and what the product is supposed to be solved, what problem it was solving for them, and how it intended to solve them. And then based on the work you've done and the changes that were asked of you and which you implemented, you are not understanding why after all of that, the CEO is saying that it was wrong. What were the expectations the CEO had? You need to get that information from your head of product. That's the only way you can actually understand what went wrong here. Because the truth of the matter is that any number of things would have gone wrong. It could be that there was a big miscommunication somewhere. It could be that you got something wrong. It could be that your head of product got something wrong. Or it could be that your CEO just forgot himself or herself, So, but we can't assess it until we have this information from the head of product.
Okay. So unfortunately, right, I report to two product head of product, right? One from technical side and one from the product side, right? So so I have a technical product manager who head the entire engineering team with the lead of engineering, and I have the the head of product who manages the business side. So that's where like the thing get complex, right?
So, but it sounds like the disagreement from the CEO was a business disagreement, not a technical one, right?
Sorry, said.
But it sounds like the objection the CEO raised was on the business side. It was a business objection, target
exactly.
audience,
Exactly.
not a technical one.
Exactly. So the business objection is not really on the technical side. Yeah, it's mostly on the business. It was actually on the business side. Yeah, that he's not actually ready for now for this set of customer want to address. That once it's ready, he'll come up to that. Yeah. So, but it wasn't clear to me, right? I still, as someone that's very inquisitive, right, you need to ask why, continue asking why, and to get the root cause. But at the moment now, so it's becoming a bit more tedious, right? But I still want to get information to satisfy my own intention, right? To know, okay, was I not good in this business decision, right? Making business decision, to know which of the skills did I need to improve more. Is it on the business side or on the technical side? Something like that.
But from what you've explained, unless you like, there's something you didn't add. From what you've explained, it doesn't sound like it was that the CEO is faulting the product. It sounds like the CEO changed his mind.
Exactly. Yeah. Exactly.
So that change of mind, looking at the market, I'm worried. I don't want you running around in circles with yourself, and wondering whether it's something you did wrong when the change didn't come from inside your house. The change seems to have come from outside your house. I mean, I think based on what you've explained now and added, it's pretty clear the CEO just changed his mind. When you guys started, the CEO believed one thing about the market. By the time you guys were done, the CEO believed a different thing about the market, and the CEO communicated that. The person who should be worried right now, like you are worried, but you shouldn't be worried. The person who should be worried is your head of product, because that decision that you're worried about here that the CEO made, it's a decision that lives between the CEO and the head of product. The head of product has to be asking himself, why didn't I see this change in the market that the CEO saw, so that I could have altered this product before the CEO got eyes on it? So, but that's not your call, unless because like you said, you've done all the market research at the beginning, and all of that was negated by the CEO, and you guys were told to go in a particular direction. At that point, you have been told that the market research is not your responsibility, just build the product. So I think you're if you ask me, based on what you said, I think you're overthinking this a bit. It's not your call. It's not on you.
Yeah. Thanks for that. Thanks for that response. Yeah, I'll send it DM today. Thanks for that response. Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Thank you, Mustafa. Okay. Thank you, Andrew. So there's this question here. How would you answer this question in an interview? If you had to build a product, what product will you build and why?
Well, that's an interesting question. It's been so long since anyone asked me that question. I don't even know what the answer now. But I think thinking about current problems, I would build a desktop application that lets you type anything you want to, anything you're working on, in one text editor in one page, and based on what you're typing, it will send the text to the right file wherever it is. And that's for people like me who work on multiple things at once and who are afflicted with some version of ADHD, so that way I'm not looking for all the different files. I can just work in one place. That's what I would build, because it's something that bothers me. It bothers a lot of my friends. Everybody just wants to be able to write on one place and go. Now, do I know if is that a profitable app? I have no idea, but it's an app I would love to build for a pain point I personally have. That's my answer. Probably won't get the job.
Okay. I think that answers the product you want to build and the why already. So
yeah.
Yeah. Let me take this question from. Okay, let me take Chukwuemeka. Yeah. Oh no, sorry, Oh God, Chukwuemeka. Please, Chike. Please just unmute yourself and ask your question.
Yeah, thank you, Molaseyinde. Hi, Andrew.
Hi.
So my question is sort of like an umbrella or like a piggyback, maybe off Mustafa's question. So Marty Kagan, who's like a global product leader, has like this obsession with empowered teams versus featured teams. And so what that means is he says the empowered teams are teams like in Apple and in Facebook, where the product team is able to like work and then do market research and move in a particular direction based off data. Now, however, featured teams are like hey, we want to do this one, build a wallet. Hey, let's do this other one, build this. And it appears that in the Nigerian market, which I'm very familiar with, and I have like friends across board in different sectors, it appears that a bulk of what we do here falls under like the feature team situation. So does this prepare us for like the global marketplace, or is this like are we all just struggling to like maybe get market fit? That's the reason why we keep on stabbing at different features, look for what sticks. And what do you think? What do you think is the best way? Do you think like product teams should be empowered and should be able to do their own thing on their own way using data, yeah, rather than just following what the CEO says, so to say?
I love this question. This is something that I spend a lot of my off time thinking about and writing about. I wrote an article on this like a couple of months ago now, where my article is called "Is Africa doing product wrong?" And that's just this question. Basically, the question is, the fact that in most of Africa, what we have is we don't have empowered, to use, to borrow Kagan's framework which you've used here. We don't have a lot of empowered teams. We have a lot of feature teams. And is that wrong? Is that a wrong way to do product? And is that and to your question, does it limit the prospects of Nigerian PMs or African PMs going to the global market? What my research tells me is that, and my experience as well, is that across the world, most teams are feature teams. Or maybe look at it this way. I tend to subscribe to, I don't think it's just two buckets, empowered teams on one side and feature teams on another. I think it's like a distribution, and maybe it's more of like this, where like you have a few, pure, empowered teams, and on the other side, a few pure feature teams, and everybody else is somewhere in the middle, but maybe more around or more closer to feature teams, right? I think that's what the global product management space looks like. And there are many reasons for that. Think about the percentage of companies that are startups that are very early or very small teams. They're large. I mean, it's almost a plurality. The smaller the team, the more likely it is that the founder is going to be the chief product officer. And if he's the chief product officer, then that means that whichever product person is employed isn't going to have a lot of independence to build, to come up with product strategy and do all of that. And there are many reasons for that. In a small startup, if the founder wants to take responsibility for a lot of things. In fact, in an early stage startup, like the product is the startup, the product is the company. The product is maybe the most important thing. Getting the product right is perhaps the most important thing. Now, if you are the owner of the company and you sold your house and you're sleeping, in your sister's basement or your living room to get this product to the market and to blow, why would you delegate the most critical thing, the product, to somebody you hire? You take it on yourself till maybe the company has passed that early stage, it's growing out, its products are becoming more complex, or maybe your investors who you finally raise and investors say you need a professional product manager. It's only at that point that you start bringing them on, and even then you want to make the decisions, especially because product strategy is a lot of fun. So I own a company, I want to make the product decisions, in a way that I don't want to make the accounting decisions. So all those things add up, and not just an African problem. It's worse in Africa because Organa, Master, and all of that, all those problems we have here. But it's like that everywhere. Even in America, like leave Silicon Valley and go to like the other centers that are generating a lot of tech. So, like for instance, airlines. Airlines have big tech departments. Conjuring websites, apps, and everything. All those people, you will not see a lot of independence in the product teams there. So it's a general problem. It's worse in some places than others. So to answer your question, don't be too worried about that, right? Don't be too worried that, oh, I am not doing this, so maybe I'm not going to be competitive globally. You will still find. However, if you want the best jobs outside, you want to work for a FANG, you want to work for the big investment banks, you want to work for these people who have like really empowered product teams, what you need to do is study. You need to, even if in your current job here, you're not getting that opportunity, you need to learn how it's done, how product decisions are made, at the strategic level, how roadmaps are curated, how things are validated. You need to do that. In fact, a great exercise to do is all those decisions, product decisions that you should be making, that your CEO is making. Watch your CEO and try and understand why they're making decisions, what you would do differently, what information that they should be collecting that they're not collecting. Turn your frustrating job into an internship for learning how to be a feature learning how to be an empowered product manager, how you would make decisions if you were one.
All right. Thank you, Andrew.
Thank you, Andrew. That answers everything. Thank you very much.
Yeah. So I shouldn't be taking any more questions, but I mean, there is this question I've been trying to run to in the chat box because I feel like it would probably help some people, right? So I'll just take a question right away. So there is this question from Kevin. Backlog can contain feature, right? Enhancements and bugs. Is it mandatory to add bugs in the backlog when a QA team absolutely wants to have control on how they prioritize bugs? Because I don't want to create frictions in my relationship with them by breaking their workflow. I don't know if you got that question, Andrew.
Yeah, I get the question. Yeah, it's a good question. I love this question. I think it really depends on your organization. So here's what I mean. I understand you not wanting to create friction with QA. The question is, will letting QA govern the bug backlog, the bug aspect of the backlog? Is there a chance that will cause friction between you and your bosses, right? Because, so here's the question. How is QA prioritizing the bugs? Is QA's prioritization for bugs very deviant from what the rest of the organization, especially the business, is looking for? So sometimes maybe QA is prioritizing the bugs based on complexity of the bug or based on, I don't know, I don't want to speculate, but maybe the business is prioritizing bugs based on, which feature the bug affects and how that feature, what percentage of users need that feature at a given time, or which revenue lines that feature affects. So sometimes the prioritization could be very different. And you, as a product manager, remember you are answering to the business in a way. I'm trying to, at the end of the day, it's all about building apps that make money for the company, right? So if it comes down to a choice between offending your QA and offending the business, you are going to need to sit down with QA and basically you can't let them have their complete way. You have to be able to say to them, look, your prioritization, is there no way you can also factor in this other stuff? Is there no middle ground that we can get to where you are treating the bugs in an order you can live with, even if it's not ideal for you? But at the same time, business is not so pissed off that they are in front of my office with torches and pitchforks because I'm letting the customers die. So you can't, it's a balance. And that balance just depends on how much deviation there is in your organization between business needs and how QA is seeing it. And that just varies from one place to the other. I can't give a definite answer. You have to draw that matrix for yourself.
Yeah, all right. Thank you very much, and Andy. Thank you so much for today. I mean, this was really a very great and productive session. I believe a whole lot of people have learned here today, and I would just say I'm sorry to Mayowa. I know you've been raising your hand, and I mean, I have like 2 questions more in the chat box. I won't be taking them, obviously. So this is what is going to happen, right? I'm going to drop Andy's handle on Slack, so you can just tag him. I mean, for the questions he has not yet answered, right? So any free time you have, like, during the week.
In fact, like I have some free time now. Maybe if we just, so I'm going to be on my Slack for the next 30 minutes. I think awesome. 30 to 45 minutes. So any questions, you can just start dropping them there and I'll be answering them. Right? Because I made up that time, because usually oftentimes when I do this session on a Tuesday, I have another commitment immediately after. So I tend not to get back on the Slack. So I just cleared my calendar today. So any questions, just hit me up on Slack. I'm here till.
So guys, that's it actually. So I have Andy's handle here. You can see on the chat box. So just copy and tag him on any question like you've not, like any question that has not been answered yet, right? And okay, Samuel, please just give me a minute. So I wanted to say just for the last time before Samuel speaks that we have these every Tuesday, of course, not just every Tuesday. We have bi-weekly programs. So as we have this today, so the coming Tuesday is going to be for our interview session, right? Where we have like another industry juggernaut in that sense, who comes to like interview, right? Do a mock interview for our candidates, like our members, right? So you can just get to understand how best to like attack interview questions. We also have like coming up next on Saturday, our checking calls, so you can also be available, right? Just make yourself available and try to attend, right? Be part of the community, basically. It helps a lot. I can't mention how much of help, right, and assistance this community has been to me. So I mean, just make yourself available and you're going to gain a lot from it. And I mean, it is just to give a shout out to everybody that was available, like that was present at our recently concluded event with Founders Factory Africa. I mean, the partnership, Founders Factory, people, so, like, you guys are awesome. Welcome, and thank you so much for being part of it. So yeah, Samuel, are you still on the call? Samuel Ugukwaya.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah.
So, hi everyone. Thanks, Andrew. Thanks, Ola. So I just need to mention. I just need to mention that people should drop the messages or the questions on the questions. Sorry, on the questions channel instead of Andrew's DM. It should be better that way, so other people could learn from it and the answers.
Oh, awesome. So just go to the Slack channel and you'll find the questions channel there, right? So thank you, everyone. Have a great day, and yeah, be the best of yourself. Bye.
Bye, guys. I'm in the questions channel right now.
Yeah, bye, Andy. Thanks so much. Thanks very much.
Bye.
Bye, guys.
Yeah.
Bye, Andy. Bye, guys.